Introducing the Bite Me Cannabis Club. The Bite Me Cannabis Club aims to be an inclusive online space for cannabis lovers. Whether you're simply curious about how cannabis can improve your life or you're fully seasoned, there's always more to learn. When you join the Bite Me Cannabis Club, you'll have access to like-minded people interested in cannabis, monthly workshops, live Q&As, recipes and recipe swaps, digital cookbooks, a fully functional chat feature, and a whole lot more. For a limited time, it's only $5 a month with a 30-day free trial so you can try it out and see if it's right for you. This isn't just another Facebook group or confusing Discord channel. I carefully chose a platform that offers a clear, uncluttered, and seamless community experience. See for yourself, join today, say hello. I can't wait to connect with you there. Join the Bite Me Cannabis Club today. Link in your podcast app. Hi friends, welcome to Bite Me, the show about edibles where I help you take control of your high life. I'm your host Marge, and I just want to say thank you for joining me today for today's episode. Whether you're a new listener or not so new, or you've been listening the entire time, I'm just glad you're here. I'm glad I'm not talking to myself because quite frankly, the world is isolating enough right now, isn't it? Who needs the bullshit of thinking they're talking to themselves every single week? I certainly don't. In any case, we have a great show for you today. I've got a guest on today's show I'm kind of excited about, my friend Sammy. We're going to do a little story time with Sammy. But before we get into that, I just want to update you guys on my bud tender job. They called. They finally called. It sounds like they got their retail store authorization or whatever it is that they have to get, and they want me to start soon. Now, by the time this podcast comes out, I'll have had a few days under my belt already, and I have to admit it's a little nerve-wracking, mainly because it's a new store, and anytime it's a new store, there's bound to be some kind of hiccups and problems and things you can't really foresee until you actually have your doors open. And that's inevitable. But then you toss in a little bit of this global pandemic on top of that, and of course, there's reasons to be a little concerned about how it's all going to play out. Now, they did say on the phone that they have a COVID action plan. Of course, I don't think there's any business with any doors open right now that doesn't have one, of course. So as long as they're taking the appropriate steps to protect the staff and anybody who's coming into the store, because I sure as fuck don't want to bring a little sickness into my own household when I go home at the end of the day. But I understand that people also want to relax with some weed. I totally get that. So I will be starting very soon. Again, like I said, once this podcast episode comes out, I'll have already started. So hopefully that'll go well. Wish me luck, you guys. It should be interesting. I'm pretty curious to see what kind of strains of weed they have in there. And more importantly, what kind of edibles do they have? Even though I know in Canada, the potency level is pretty much bullshit. But still, I'm pretty curious to see what they have because there are some companies doing some pretty interesting stuff out there right now in the legal Canadian market. And yeah, so I'm excited. I've been at home myself, self-isolating for a couple weeks now since the restaurant closed. As much as I can find plenty of stuff to keep me busy, it is kind of nice to go out, maybe talk to some people again in person. It's very strange times indeed that we're in, which is why the conversation with Sammy was so great. So Sammy, I've known him for a few years now. He was also working at the restaurant, and he is one of my daughter's boyfriends. Sammy's wonderful, and we have a pretty fun conversation. It's lighthearted, and the one thing we don't talk about is COVID. So you have that to look forward to as well, because I don't know about you, but everything now that I read, I got a newspaper in the mail the other day. There's a free newspaper that comes out in our city a couple times a week, and the last edition, the entire paper front to back was all about this pandemic, and it's on the top of everyone's minds. But sometimes it's nice to forget about it for like a couple of minutes. So I hope this conversation helps you forget about it for a few minutes. Enjoy. Enter Sammy. So, Sammy, thanks for being on the show.
Oh, hi. No problem.
How's your quarantine going?
Oh, it's going pretty good. Been gaming a lot, playing some Warzone. Pretty fun because everybody's online because everybody's stuck inside. So there's
I
always someone
know.
to play with.
I heard that Netflix was reducing the streaming quality in Canada because so many people are using it right now.
Oh, I did not hear that. That's
To
actually
reduce
interesting.
bandwidth. That's if Twitter is to be believed, but yeah, that's what I've heard.
That's something that Disney Plus should take on because they never stand for us.
You're not too impressed?
No.
Well, as you can see, people are using their quarantine time for some pretty productive shit, obviously, which is like watching a lot of television. And I mean, there's so much good stuff right now, so why not? But this episode and this podcast is not about TV, it's about edibles. And Sammy, I hear you've got a story for me.
Yeah, so like I've only tried making weed butter once in my life. I've learned a lot from it. It was quite a task, but basically gist of it is we were making it and I didn't realize how much butter you actually get out of it. So we make it and everything, and
like how much you'd end up as a finished product.
Yeah, so like I'm expecting like a brick of butter to be like, I'll put like, say like we were using like a smaller pot.
Yeah.
I'd expect like the whole pot to become butter.
Right.
So we used like a really, really big pot. Like it was massive, like industrial size.
Like a big soup pot.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was thinking in my head, I'm like, oh, sick. We're going to have so much butter. We're going to be making so much stuff for so long. Because, like, we did put a lot of weed into it and everything. Like, I don't know if we did it right at the time, but, like, decarbing it, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But, like, we
I
had
don't
a
think
lot.
we
So
did that the first time that we did it either. So if you did, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, so, like...
when you say we, though, how many people was this? Like, how big of a project were you guys taking on as a group?
It was 3 of us. So it was me, my roommate, who was also my best friend, and then his buddy, who I also started smoking weed with for the first time. So like we all like had this like little inner circle because like the first group that I started smoking weed with. So like we're like, you know what, let's try making it. And like I think my one friend, he I just won't say his name just in case. But I know you're pretty big, so
just in case he hears this.
Yeah, but I think that he made it before with his friend, but I think they already had the butter. I don't think he made the butter, so none of us really knew like.
What do you mean he had the butter?
I think so they went to a cottage, baked cookies, but I think his friend made the butter and then
so they made edibles, but somebody already made the infusion for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So it was 3 of us, so we were like, okay, let's go at it. We did it because we were living alone for the first time, not in our parents' house or anything. And yeah, next morning, they had like 9 to 5 jobs, so they were gone right in the morning. I didn't work till like 12 that day or at the night, so like I'm like, okay, guys, I'm gonna look at the butter. It's really exciting. And I go and look at it. I'm like, sweet. So there's like a thick layer on top. I'm like, oh my god, it worked. Like the whole thing it's all butter. So then we go to like crack it open. Or sorry, I went to go crack it open. And it's just like this thin layer on top. The rest is water underneath. I'm like, guys, it didn't work. So I like texted in the group chat. I was like so upset. I'm like, guys, it didn't work. Like, they're like, what do you mean it didn't work? I'm like, well, like there's no butter. And they're like freaking out. So I made the mistake of doing this in the morning when I first looked at it. So the whole day they were like freaking out. Right. So the one guy, he doesn't live with us, so he's at home and he's probably like panicking. Josh comes home after his shift. And then me and him, we look at him, we're like, oh, so that's what you mean? I'm like, yeah, man, like there's nothing left. And like there's like a lot. Like now knowing how much you would get, there's a lot. And he's like, dude, that's like how much you would get. I'm like, dude, but the whole pot. He's like, no, it's not gonna fill up the whole pot. So I was enlightened. I didn't realize it. So I don't think we cooked it for a couple of days or baked with it.
Yeah.
I think it was about like 2 weeks it sat there.
Yeah.
And then we're like, okay, we better do something with this. Like we put all this weed into it, so we better cook something.
Right.
So I think the first time we tried it out, we just did butter and toast.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like just straight
That's
up.
about as unimaginative as you can possibly get
I
when it
don't, but
comes
like
to making
we just
edibles.
want to know what the flavor was like mostly.
Yeah.
And
Although,
it
you
was
know what? That's effective, I guess. I mean,
it was horrible.
it
It
didn't
was like
taste good.
we didn't put a lot of it on, so
Right.
like we didn't really we both like didn't feel anything from it.
Right.
It was awful. It tasted so I can still taste that taste to this day. Like it was
Really?
horrible.
So it was
Yeah, it
like
was not.
it was pretty green tasting.
Yeah, it wasn't like salty enough. It just was like a very simple, basic
Right.
butter.
But just that's usually what you're going for because you want something not too salty because you're adding it into other recipes. But
Mhm.
when you're
But we
just
didn't.
putting it on plain toast.
Yeah, we didn't know this, so like
Yeah.
we just did the plain toast,
And
plain
were any
butter.
of you guys like home chefs or home cooks of any kind? Like, did any of you
I
like
mean,
cooking?
I was pretty good with the microwave and the oven at the time. I don't think any of us would call ourselves chefs. I feel like we were all very inspired to cook, but none of us
Right.
actually did.
But the reality was you're pretty good with a microwave.
Yeah, so like not a lot of knowledge. So like we
Okay.
just took like a classic cookie recipe, I think from like one of the guys' moms,
Yeah.
and made cookies with it. I think we made a dozen cookies.
Okay.
I want to say a dozen. We used up a lot of the butter with it, so I think it was a dozen. And now this is how I found out about my tolerance, because I really have quite a tolerance for edibles. Like they
Right.
don't really affect me in the
Yeah.
way that they affect other people.
Yeah.
So we're all sitting there, we're all eating these cookies. So I think we all ate one at a time. Or no,
Yeah.
sorry, I was home by myself and I'm like, okay, I have nothing to do today. I'm gonna try the cookie. So I ate one, nothing. Waited an hour, nothing. 2 hours, nothing. Okay,
Right.
fine. Like I'll try eating two at a time. And I waited like nothing. So like they come home and I tell them about what happened. They're like so bummed, like they're so upset. So
So
they
much
go,
work to go through just to have like the cookies not work. So I get that.
yeah. And
Yeah.
like we put a lot like in
Yeah.
our like at this point in our lives, we're not making a lot of money. So like this was
Right.
like an investment of weed we bought too, right?
Yeah, of course. And butter's not cheap and like everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So like we're like I'm like bummed out. So they go at it, they come home, they they take two cookies each and they go to a basketball park. I had to go to work or something.
I could just I already know how
And then
badly this is
they
gonna
eat
go.
both of them like right away. And they just like I don't touch my phone when I was working. So like I didn't look
Right.
at my texts for like probably like a good 6 hours, right?
Right.
I pick up my phone and it's just like blown up with just like what the fuck? Like these are angry texts, like they worked, blah blah. But I guess they went to a park,
Yeah.
played some basketball. Halfway through basketball, the basketball dropped. They also dropped with the basketball. And
Really? It
well,
was
like not like
that
they were just like they laid on the ground. They're like, holy shit! Like they were like it like because I it was a lot, right? And like
well,
yeah,
as soon as you said, I think we made a dozen cookies and we used a lot of the butter. I'm doing like the quick calculations in my mind, and they were probably really fucking potent. That's all I can
yeah,
say. Because I
yeah.
usually
So
use a
like
third of a cup of coconut oil for 2 dozen cookies when I make usual batch. And I've estimated those to be about 45 milligrams myself. But
yeah, so like
so those
I
cookies were probably really potent.
so like it hit them. So I come home and they're just like Josh. I think slept the rest of the day.
Of
The
course.
other guy he went home and he just couldn't do anything. Next day, and then from there on out,
And you're like,
they
what? What?
no, and I was
They're
like
fun.
so upset. I was like, I got ripped off, dude. Like I didn't get any of that. And then
Yeah.
like I think we had a couple leftover cookies, so I think I tried like three at a time, like right at once. And like I felt like
Right.
a little buzz, but like nothing
So you
really.
really do have a crazy tolerance then, eh?
Yeah, and I don't really understand it because like I've tried like some high. I don't know what you measure like edibles with like the
This
top like
milligrams.
the
It's still
yeah,
milligrams.
yeah, okay. So milligrams. But like, yeah, I don't know. The only cookies I've really had a feeling with are yours, and I don't know
Yeah.
why. Like, it's not like I'm blown away, like knocking out
Yeah.
my ass kind of thing, but
Yeah.
like I feel it, and like it's more like I'm going to like watch a movie and then fall asleep after.
Those ones are made with coconut oil, and they say
Hmm,
maybe that can make it a little more bioavailable or
hmm.
whatever. But anecdotally, maybe that's the reason why. but some people just have really high tolerances.
Yeah,
There's no
and
rhyme or reason to it, and has
it might
nothing to do with how much you smoke either.
like I always thought it might be my metabolism because I feel like my
Mm-hmm.
metabolism has gotten better as I've got older, which I know is a weird thing, but like I think I just kind of fix
Yeah,
my body.
you're still young though, Sammy.
Yeah, I know, but like my like in like my teenage days, like my metabolism sucked. Like I would eat something and feel it. Now it's like I
Right.
can eat something and like not really feel it. So like that's what I always thought. Because like now as I like feel my metabolism being better, I
Yeah.
feel the edibles a little bit more than when I
Yeah.
didn't have as much as metabolism.
Well,
But I
they
also don't know
say,
if that is
I think you probably just still have a high tolerance, but they do say
yeah.
to enjoy your edibles on a more full stomach because the fat helps the digest or the digest. I forget what, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I've also heard eating salty things.
Yeah, but a lot of it's the fat because it's a fat like the weed is fat soluble when you ingest it that way, like when you eat
Mm,
it, and you
yeah,
need
that makes sense.
that fat, I guess. But I don't know. At the end of the day, you probably just have a monster tolerance,
Yeah, just
and
beast.
unfortunately, you got to those cookies before your friends did, and that meant that they got really fucking high.
And I think that might have been one of my first edibles I've had too, as well.
That's one of your first edibles, like that you ever had,
I think so.
right? What
Yeah,
compelled
because
you guys to make edibles in the first place?
I just think we were just all pretty big potheads at the time. And it was like, you know what? We hear about this on TV, see about
Right.
this, and it's like, you know what? Now that we live at home, because I don't think that was a big reason too, is just you're not going to make weed cookies with parents who aren't
Yeah,
okay with
that's true.
smoking
I
weed
guess
in
you
your
wouldn't
house,
think about it. Yeah.
because like that's like how I grew up was like you don't smoke at all. Like you
Right.
get caught smoking, and like I felt the wrath of getting caught smoking. But
Yeah. Well, my
but
parents are the
like
same way. No smoking or
yes,
anything. Yeah.
so
So
I
you're not
think
about to
like
whip up a batch of weed butter on your stove at home.
yeah, and like even when we would go away to like cottages and stuff, there was still always parents around. So I feel like
Right.
that was probably like a
I
big
get it.
reason
Yeah.
like
You're
why
like, I'm
not.
finally out from underneath my parents' shadow. What am I going to do
Yeah.
first? I'm going to cook up a big batch of weed butter. Like,
So
see
I
how
feel
fucked
like
up I can get.
and like we were like, you know what? Why not? Like it's different.
Yeah.
It's
No, I was
fun.
just
It's
curious because I
yeah.
try to remember sometimes why I even started baking with weed all those years ago.
Hmm.
Like, because the first time we ever made it on the stove, it was a pain in the ass. You had to
Yeah.
like stand at the stove and stir it and keep stirring because you don't want to burn the butter. And like, we were just like, holy crap. Like, it was so much work.
I
But
think nowadays I'm more interested in like it's been around for a little bit longer with people cooking it, so a lot
yeah,
more people figure cooler things out to do with it. Like
yeah,
I think the cool thing is like uh the green what is the green dragon
yeah,
the cocktails.
yeah.
I think that's really interesting because I would have never thought of infusing uh alcohol drink with weed.
Right.
So like
Which
I
is
think like
interesting because,
now
yeah,
I'd be more into it. Just
there's a lot more interesting stuff. And you might find
mhm.
like beverages better for you as well because I find that infused alcohol hits you faster
I think it
for
would
sure.
because I know when I'm drinking and either eating an edible or
Yeah.
smoking, I feel a lot more than when I'm just doing one or the other.
Right. The only, but I think like when you drink a cannabis infused beverage, it just hits you faster than eating it as
Mm.
well. And then you have the addition of the alcohol, which also means people have to be really careful because you can get pretty fucked up pretty fast
I think there was
that way.
a video of Snoop Dogg, or no, sorry, Two Chains, where he
Right.
does his most expensive shit show,
Yeah.
and he goes to this guy who cooks with edibles, and he gets like, and he's someone who smokes like a lot,
Yeah.
and like seeing him just like keep on eating stuff and like his eyes just keep on rolling and rolling, and it's like pretty. It's like even the producers, they come up to him like, "Hey man, like you got to stop,
Yeah. You
like
don't have to keep going. It's
yeah,
okay.
like
You
don't
have
do
nothing to
this."
prove.
It's like, man, no, I'm gonna do this. I just want to try it. So yeah,
Wow.
I think
Well,
there's people out there like me,
oh, for
show it to them.
sure. Yeah, everything's changing right now, and we're living these wild times where cannabis is legal and we can talk about it and don't have to look over our shoulders anymore. And that's pretty fucking awesome. So,
Yeah,
Sammy, thanks for sharing your story today.
yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. This is great.
Yeah, of course. And I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Sammy. It was a lot of fun recording it, even though we did it from separate houses. First time ever doing something like that, so I hope the audio was okay for you guys. If you have any feedback or anything that you want to share with me with regards to this episode or any other episode, you have stories of your own to share, recipes you've tried that you've enjoyed, anything, I love hearing it all. And you can always send me an email at, bitemepodcast@fastmail.com. And you can also connect with me on the socials if you're so inclined. If you find yourself spending more time on Instagram or Facebook or any of those places, more than usual for obvious reasons, then look me up. It's either at Bite Me Podcast, at Bite Me Podcast, or at Host Marge. It's usually one or the other. Can't always remember who I am where. It's hard to keep track of sometimes. So yeah, if you're so inclined, find me there. And finally, have you entered the contest yet? Wait, what contest are you talking about, Margaret? Well, let me tell you. If you go to my website, bitemepodcast.com, where you'll find every episode I've ever recorded, some resources, things I recommend, a dosing calculator of sorts. Actually, I don't have the calculator up that I'd like to get one day, but it'll to give you the steps on how to calculate dosing for your edibles. It's got all kinds of cool stuff there. But if you go to my website and scroll to the bottom, input your email, you'll be entered into a contest to win a magical butter machine. How wonderful would that be? Pretty wonderful, I think. The contest is going to be, or the winner, sorry, is going to be announced on April 20th, of course. When else would I do it? And this is open to listeners only. So if you don't listen to this podcast, well, you wouldn't be here, I guess, and you can't enter because you wouldn't know about it. So as a listener of this podcast, you have a unique opportunity to win, which also increases your chances a lot because, there's some work on your part. You have to go to your phone. You have to open up an app. You have to go to bitemepodcast.com. You have to scroll down. There's a lot of steps. So this is my way of saying thank you for being a listener. Good luck to you. And I hope you have a wonderful week, you guys. Stay high. Are you tired of trying edibles that are inconsistent in strength and flavor? Attempting to figure out your tolerance? Do you want to take control of your edibles experience and find the optimum combination of factors that results in the best outcome? If so, this edibles journal is perfect for you. The Bite Me Edibles Journal provides a convenient and organized way for you to track and record your edibles experience, whether it's homemade edibles or store-bought. It includes 48 fillable pages. It's sized 8.5 by 11 for plenty of writing space, includes information on calculating the potency of homemade edibles, and it was created by an edibles expert. Whether you're a seasoned edibles enthusiast or just starting out on your cannabis journey, the Bite Me Edibles Journal is an essential tool for anyone interested in enjoying their edibles to the fullest. Take control of your high life with this convenient and helpful resource. Add it to your Amazon cart today. Tap the link in the show notes.